Yo, what's up? It's your boy Nitro High Fire here. Welcome back to Nerd Torch TV, your spot for anime, comics, and gaming. And today I want to hop on the video real quick and give my opinion of Captain America's Brave New World. So for those of you who don't know, Captain America Brave New World is the continuation of the Captain America story after Sam Wilson got the Captain America shield. This is the first movie where Sam Wilson has become Captain America. This is not including the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show, where you get to see the struggles of where Sam Wilson doesn't really feel like Captain America is a position that he should have himself. And a little of that is left over in this movie as well. I find it the most fascinating that Sam doesn't really feel like he should be Captain America. He feels like the shield in itself or the position is above him. And constantly he's trying to figure out how he fit into the shoes that Steve Rogers left. So I'm really liking the fact that Sam doesn't really want to be Cap, but he has to be Cap. He's also respecting the fact that Steve Rogers put him in that position. A lot of times, even in real life, I feel like the people who are like the best managers or supervisors or people who are the best leaders feel like they need to lead, not the people who really want to lead. And I think Sam kind of fits that description. Now here's a few things that I want to touch on that I personally like a lot about the movie. One of the things I really like is the fact that Sam is actually being trained by Isaiah Bradley. For those of you who don't know, Isaiah Bradley was the very first Captain America, but he couldn't officially be Captain America because he was black. You know, back in those days, you know, people didn't really like black folks that much. But Sam shows so much respect for Isaiah in this film, and for what he has done for the country is truly like inspiring. And the reason I bring that up is because it's not the fact that Isaiah Bradley represents somebody in like American history or anything like that. Isaiah Bradley represents Uncle. Isaiah Bradley is the old school black dude in the neighborhood that everybody goes to for wisdom, and he's always dropping knowledge on you about things that you probably never even thought of, and he always puts it in a way that you probably never even considered. And I think that's where this movie really shines. Watching black characters on screen who actually talk and behave like black characters is something that I don't personally get to see a lot. And what I mean by that is when I'm watching a movie or I'm watching a TV show and there are black characters in that piece of media, it seems like those characters culturally behave in a non-black way. Being black is not just about skin color. Being black is about the cultural experiences that you grow up with in America that separates you from other people. It's about how we interact with each other, how we interact with our elders, how we show respect to those who are in leadership positions. It's how we fight, it's how we argue, it's how we talk, it's how we do everything. Being black is about more than skin color. And I really felt that in this movie. I really felt that in the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show. I can't tell you how annoying it is whenever I'm watching a piece of media and there's a black character involved and it seems like that character isn't culturally black. It seems like that character was written by white people, or pretty much it seems like that character just seems super disconnected from black culture altogether. And sometimes I hate how some TV shows or movies get super preachy by giving the black character a black circumstance to overcome, whether that's a negative interaction with the police or somebody who's completely and blatantly racist, and then base their racism strictly off of skin color is just such a weird thing, because that's not really how a lot of us identify with racism in America. And not necessarily identify racism, but that's not how we really experience racism in America. And Sam and Isaiah's relationship on screen really reflects that of a relationship between two black men from two different eras. Like, a lot of times they disagree on certain things, but you can tell, like, for example, Sam has that respect that this is my elder, this is the one who came before me, and that means something. I know a lot of black people out there have that respect for their elders or somebody they consider their OG, to listen to that person and kind of take that wisdom that they have from them. And I will say the interaction between them is the most realistic one I've seen in a long time when it comes to two black characters interacting with each other. Another thing I think was really cool is there's a scene in there where Sam, Isaiah, and Torres are all interacting with each other, and they get to loosen up, they get to be themselves, and considering all three of them are minorities, you get to really see the culture shine between all three of them before they have to go into this white dominated space and act a certain way in order to appease the people around them. It really just shows, it was a very subtle way of showing code switching, and I really like that. So another part of the movie I really enjoyed was the fact that if you pay attention to the way that Sam fights versus the way Steve Rogers fights, like the combat in the movie is very well thought out, because Sam definitely has to think a lot more than Steve had to think, just because of the fact that he has no super soldier serum. This dude is just a regular dude out here just trying the best he can with some Wakanda tech on top of that. The Wakanda technology that Sam was able to utilize in the movie, you really could see how much of an advantage that really gave him. And to be honest with you, I think he really needed it. When we first saw Sam introduced into the MCU, we got to see him in, I believe it was Captain America Winter Soldier. Sam was out there doing work with the wings, bro. He was flying around, zipping, missiles were getting shot at him. Like, it was kind of insane watching this man do what he do. And you get to see a lot more of that in this movie as well. I like the fact that Sam is his own Captain America. He's not really shown to be like he's trying to take over for Steve Rogers. He's really his own person. And the fact that he's his own person, I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And I like the fact that we're getting a more rounded character to be Captain America. Me personally, I've always felt like Steve Rogers was a little bland. This is something I've always said with my friends, is that Captain America cannot carry a movie. The reason why the Captain America movies were so good wasn't even because of him per se. It was primarily because they were all Avengers movies. Minus the first Captain America movie, you know, Captain America, the first Avenger. But pretty much after that, Winter Soldier, that's pretty much an Avengers movie. Civil War, that's pretty much an Avengers movie. Like, the cast of all the rest of the characters interacting with Captain America is kind of what gave Captain America character, and it's kind of the way he interacted with different people is what made him interesting to me, in my opinion. And I personally think that Sam Wilson as Captain America can actually carry a movie by himself, as we see in this movie, Brave New World. We don't need a bunch of collaborative cameos from literally every other Avengers member in order to make the movie good. Brave New World stands on its own. Sam Wilson stands on his own. This is a whole new part of Sam that we don't get to see very often in the other movies. We get to see his intelligence. This man speaks multiple languages. You get to see the fact that he was a counselor and how those skills come to play with him being Captain America. You get to see his flight on full display. You can see what he can do in flight, which we saw that a bit in Civil War, because this man was really doing the most when it came to flight. But you get to see him do more of that. You get to see how he combines the flight skills with the combat skills. Like, to be honest, like, they spent a lot more time on Sam Wilson's Captain America character as a character, in my opinion. They didn't give Steve Rogers this much depth when they made him, or when they wrote him, rather, for the MCU. I would have liked Steve Rogers to have this much depth as a character. But to be honest with you, like, Steve Rogers was very stoic of a character. He kind of just was very straight arrowed, and he really, his entire character is just based on him, you know, being the character that doesn't give up no matter what the circumstances are, which that's what Sam represents right now as well, even more so because of the fact that he doesn't have a super soldier serum. Like, when Steve Rogers was here, he was always the character. That's why his, in my opinion, that's why his slogan was, "I can do this all day," because he was the character that didn't give up no matter what the circumstances were. But at the same time, he doesn't have the amount of depth that Sam Wilson's Captain America has. And I really think that Sam had the foundation of Steve Rogers to kind of step into, like when the people were actually writing the character. I felt like they used that foundation that Cap had, that Steve Rogers had, and built on that a bit more when they stepped a new person into that role. When they stepped Sam Wilson into that role, I think it gave the writers the opportunity to look at it from the circumstance of what does this character brings to this title. Obviously, Steve Rogers would choose Sam for the title of Captain America because who he is and who he feels like he can represent for the team. I think that's why Steve Rogers picked him. But if you're looking from a writer's standpoint, I feel like they wanted Steve Rogers to choose Sam because Sam would be the next best thing to Steve Rogers' character, and then some. So it's like we can make Sam be Steve Rogers-esque when he's in this role, but we can add so much more to him that doesn't make him so bland. Steve Rogers literally is like, you know, the burger you cook on the grill, you just slap it on there, you got the charcoal, the flavor, and you kind of it's just a plain burger. Like, it's good because it is what it is. But Sam Wilson's Cap is like, you know, you gotta add the seasoning in there, the bell peppers get smushed into the meat and stuff. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know. Now, in this movie, Sam struggles with the fact that he didn't take the super soldier serum. And I feel that so much in this movie because my man was getting hurt. Every step of the way, he was taking an injury here, an injury there, a stab here, a cut there. Like, oh my God, it is very apparent that this man is just a regular dude. And that's really what I love about Sam's character, and it's kind of, I feel like the reason why I like Batman especially as well is because this is just normal dudes who are trying to step up to do extraordinary things, and you know, it's showing, you know, what humans are really capable of, you know, if you stick your mind to it. But at the same time though, Sam is really, you know, taking a beating, and he's really thinking about, like, man, do I really need to take this super soldier serum? Is it for me? Like, it's kind of difficult stepping into, you know, such big boots, especially when we're coming off of, you know, the alien invasion that Thanos brought upon us. We're stepping out of that, and I was stepping into so many other things that we're gonna have to fight against in the world. Sam is questioning, like, should a normal dude really be the one that y'all lean towards in order to make this happen? And at the same time, how do we answer that question? But at the end of it all, even after the success of everything though, this man is beaten, bruised, and hurt. But he was successful, so it's kind of like, you know, that's what the people are rooting for. I think the people really like to root for an underdog, and I think that is why Sam works so well as Captain America. Now, moving on. Harrison Ford, bro. Harrison Ford was acting, bro. Like, this has to be, like, like, admittedly, I haven't seen many projects that Harrison Ford has really acted in outside of the Indiana Jones, outside of Star Wars, and things like that. But, you know, in my opinion, as a screenwriter, filmmaker, I feel as though the action characters are very easy to do because most of the character is just kicking ass. Like, if you look at Keanu Reeves, for example, Keanu Reeves, by in no standard, has ever been considered a great actor. But look at this man in John Wick. Oh my God. Watching him do what he does in John Wick and having other actors around him to make him better, or to make the entire project better, I think is kind of where they compensated for his acting skill. But Harrison Ford in this role, when he played the president, I think you get to see the actual range on this man and his acting ability. Like, I'm actually like surprised that I'm surprised at the skill. Like, this man was acting his butt off, like, for real, for real. Now, we all knew that Harrison Ford was gonna be the Red Hulk because they kind of put that in the trailer. And I feel like they put that in the trailer because of the fact that we couldn't, I think they just had to really go for the sale when it was coming for, to pitch this movie to the public, because, you know, Marvel has been through such odd times nowadays where the fans are just not really vibing with what they're putting out. Not to say that Marvel has been putting out amazing work after amazing work, banger after banger, because let's be honest, that's not what it's been. But at the same time though, I feel like they had to go ahead and put Red Hulk in the trailer just to kind of show us that this is a new character that's going to be introduced that you guys are really going to be hyped. And I think that showing Red Hulk in the film actually gave us the ability to really see what the Hulk was capable of. Like, I really think they watered down Hulk. Like, I really think they watered down Hulk's abilities in the films from the first Incredible Hulk movie onward through just the entire franchise. They never really got the opportunity to show us how strong the Hulk was. But here with the Red Hulk, I feel like they actually did a very good way of showing us how strong he was, how incredible, incredible the Hulk is. And I don't know, I think that Marvel really has to find some filmmakers or writers who are really into anime, for example, because I feel like anime has the best overall visuals when it comes to showing how strong characters are, how powerful they are, and things of that nature. And I don't think Marvel does a good job of that. I don't even think they did a good job of it with Steve Rogers. I feel like Steve should have been shown to be even stronger than what he was, but they always seem to show us slight power showings of how Steve was. I remember there's been a couple scenes where, like, for instance, he jumps out of a plane without a parachute, lands in the water. Cool. He kicks a truck that slides into another person and it, like, knocks them away. That's kind of cool too. But overall, I don't think they show us any real feats to show how strong Cap really was. And I think that that was a disservice to us as the fans, and I think as well as it was a disservice for us not to see how strong the Hulk really was. I feel like Thor's power and strength level wasn't really shown. I feel like they kind of did a disservice throughout the entire franchise of showing how strong these characters really are. Like, we don't really know. Like, occasionally they would do something really impressive, and so it's like, oh, okay, so he can do that. So, like, the audience is surprised, like, oh, okay. Like, for instance, when Thor, like, held open the little gate thing for the star, a lot of us didn't know that Thor was going to be able to survive being blasted by a star, but he was. Like, at no point in the entire series did they show us that he had that capability. And I think in this movie, showing what the Red Hulk was really capable of, bro, this dude was jumping what had to be miles, which was really crazy. Like, Sam was really trying to fly away from Red Hulk, and Red Hulk would just jump over there to this man. And I think that was crazy. Like, we've never seen Bruce Banner do that. Like, it always seems like it always seems like Bruce Banner's Hulk situation is always condensed down to like a small area. We don't get to see how strong this man really was. But I think they really gave us a lot more with the Red Hulk. I think they gave us a lot more with how strong, like, what the Wakanda technology was as well, because we got to see that Sam's suit kind of behaves like Black Panther suit, where the wings can absorb kinetic energy and re-blast it back out. I thought that was really cool. To be honest with you, it's kind of OP, but at the same time, with the level of danger that a lot of these characters are going to be interacting with in the future of the films, we have to scale people up. That's really what it's going to be. Like, these characters got to be scaled up. And I think at some point some characters get scaled down. Like I think when they scaled down Professor Hulk, when they made him Professor Hulk, I feel like that was a nerf to him. Because I feel like he would have just beat up Thanos in round 2 if he hasn't gotten nerfed back to Professor Hulk. Even when he did the snap and his whole hand was messed up, that was a nerf to him too. I think they would have just whooped up on Thanos like that. Like to be honest, if they had regular Hulk. But anywho, Red Hulk was dope, you know, and I think they did a really good job in showing off like his amazing abilities as well. I really like the fact that we got Torres in there as Falcon. Even though he's not, I guess, officially Falcon yet, I'm not sure exactly like how that title is going to be passed on to him or whatever. Because hey, Sam Wilson is Captain America, so somebody got to be Falcon, I guess. And you know, the overall movie was very entertaining. Like these are just key points that really hit home for me personally watching the movie. But as a Marvel film, I think it's safe to say that I think a lot of fans are gonna really enjoy this film. I've heard some people ragging on it, like they didn't really like it or they didn't enjoy it. I don't really see how. To be honest with you, it seems like people just don't like fun nowadays when it comes to films. I don't know why, but like I don't know. It's just great. It was overall entertaining. I think that's what movies are supposed to be. They're supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be a good time that you go to the theater with your friends and whatnot, and actually have fun and actually have an experience. And I think that's what this movie accomplished very well. Now I don't know. Now me personally, I don't really have any problems with the film. It's obviously there's no such thing as a perfect film, but to me, like following the progression of Sam's character, like I don't know what they would have missed. Like this definitely was a character story where we were really getting to see Sam fit into the Captain America title, and I don't really see anything that they missed from having such a character-driven story. I think just about majority of the characters had good introductions. They've had good, I guess I don't want to say build up because I think they had they had enough background for, except for maybe like one character in the film. Let me see, her name in the film is Sabra Haas. Like I felt like her character was it Sabra? Yeah, her character felt a bit odd to me because of the fact of who she was supposed to be. She was supposed to be an ex-Black Widow, and I felt like that title of giving her that was pretty much all we needed to know, and that was all we were gonna get as to why this girl or this woman was so strong or so dope as she was. Because like, yo, there was some stuff that popped off in the middle of the movie and she started throwing hands at folks and I'm over here looking at her like, yo, why is she so strong? Like, especially considering her height, bro. Like, she's a short lady. Like, like I don't know how tall she is, but in comparison to like watching Sam, I think Sam, if I had to guess, he's like 6 foot tall, maybe. But like, she's a tiny lady. She has to be like 5'6" or something like that. And she was like throwing down. And so I felt like her character was a bit more active than I expected her to be. But then they kind of, as the writers, they kind of was like, oh, she's ex-Black Widow. And it kind of was like, oh, okay, cool. We all accepted that and we moved on with our lives. Now, just as a final thoughts of the film, I really enjoyed it. I had such a good time watching it. It kept me engaged the entire time. I've had some people say that the middle was kind of boring, and the middle is kind of a lot of detective work and things that kind of build upon the characters and the story and things like that, which usually build up to the climax, you know, which I don't know if what people are used to watching, and I don't know if people are just getting tired of the normal filmmaking process of a formula of storytelling. But, you know, it felt like to me that they checked off all the boxes and they gave us some really good character development for specifically Sam's character. I thought that was really good of seeing how he handled a bunch of different situations and how he handled the struggle of stepping into Steve Rogers' shoes. And I think if we focus on it as a film that is specifically designed to do that, then I think that this movie accomplished exactly what it needs to accomplish, and there's not much more to say about it. I think if they played this film a bit more like they did with Steve Rogers' Captain America films and kind of made it an Avengers movie and just threw a bunch of people in the movie who kind of had a place or their own side stories, I think if they did this movie the same way they kind of did Steve Rogers' Captain America movies, with putting a bunch of characters in it and just basically made it a whole nother Avengers movie that had a whole bunch of side stories and a whole bunch of character interactions and things like that, I feel like that movie would have hit a lot better than what this movie hit. I think it would have been a lot more successful. But at the same time, I feel like it will fail at the goal of telling Sam's story, which I feel like that's why I personally feel like Steve Rogers is such a bland character, is because he kind of got outshined by literally everybody else who's in his movie. Like, when you go to a Captain America movie for like Winter Soldier and Civil War, you didn't go for Steve. You went to Winter Soldier for Bucky and like the interactions between how do we stop this new terrorist from doing harm to people and the Avengers. Like, this is the team versus Bucky, and then obviously, you know, Steve didn't do it by himself or anything like that, which we did get a lot of cool moments from Steve Rogers in that film. But, you know, Black Widow was there, Sam was there, like, people was all putting in work against Bucky, and Bucky was out here throwing hands with everybody. And then when you went to see Civil War, we saw the trailer that Black Panther was going to be there. We saw that Scarlet Witch was going to be there. We got to see Vision. We got to see, like, everybody. And then Spider-Man dropped in that. Like, we saw everybody in Civil War. We didn't care too much about what Steve had going on in that movie. And his name was in the title. This was a Captain America movie. But this right here, this movie, Captain America Brave New World, is a Captain America movie. It's very character driven and it's staying with our character, Captain America, and how he's handling these new situations that he's having to go through. Like, this is a Captain America movie. Now, if they had, like I said, if they had played it like a whole new Avengers movie, just like they did Steve Rogers stuff, this movie probably would have done a lot better. Like, it would have been cool to have new Hawkeye show up in the story. It would have been cool if freaking Daredevil showed up at some point for whatever reason. It would have been cool if Spider-Man showed up or freaking like Bruce Banner showed up. It would have been cool to have any of these other characters in the story. But I feel like that would have detracted from Sam Wilson's story the same way I feel like a lot of what having all those other characters detracted from Steve Rogers' story. Now, they still were able to now they still was able to tell a good story when it came to Steve Rogers. Not to say he got completely outshined by everybody, but I think this was a really good Captain America movie, and it was really focused on our character. Character did not get pushed aside and outshined by some other characters. Like, it would have been crazy if Shuri showed up to help him fight Red Hulk, or if like that's like the most reasonable person to show up to help Sam would be Shuri would show up, or Ironheart. She can also fly. Why not throw her in the movie? Like, you know, new Hawkeye or old Hawkeye. Like, throw them in the movie for whatever reason. You know, the only cameo we had was from Bucky, and I thought that was pretty cool. This mofo showed up for like 2-3 minutes and he dipped. He didn't come to outshine our dude either. And so I thought that that's what made this movie a really good Captain America movie. It focused on the character. Now, once we get into the mix of telling new stories for the Avengers, having everybody up in there doing, you know, all types of stuff, you know, then I think the movies are gonna start picking up momentum in those instances of having all these different people and characters and cameos and stuff like that. I think then the movies are gonna pick up a bit more. And to be honest with you, I think that Marvel should have kept the Avengers formula going for as long as possible. I think it makes more sense for their formula to participate or to write team-up movies and projects more so than anything else, and then allow characters to stand on their own later after we get introduced to them and things like that. I feel like that was the way that Black Panther was successful, Spider-Man was successful, Wanda and Vision was successful that way. They got brought into the movies through other movies. They showed up like as new characters in these other projects, and then they kind of branched off and expanded into their own things later. Because to be honest with you, when I was watching, for instance, I watched Echo. I thought Echo was really boring. I watched Moon Knight. Moon Knight was kind of bland. I watched Miss Marvel. I felt like her as a character was really entertaining. And so I would actually give her that one. I feel like that show was pretty decent. But like She-Hulk was pretty bland, and it's like these characters really come off as really bland. I think it's because of the fact that they don't have much going on when it comes to them being on their own. And I'm thinking that maybe the writers just don't know what to write with these characters. But I think that if the fans fell in love with those characters in different scenarios first, and then it gave them their own stuff, I think things would have been well received a bit better. Like I watched all of She-Hulk, and I thought She-Hulk was just okay. You know, it was something that you really didn't have to zero in on, because I felt like they formulated more like a sitcom where you didn't really have to jump. You really didn't have to pay attention the whole time. You kind of knew episode by episode what was going to happen, so on and so forth. Like, I didn't feel like it really rooted itself in a consistent story that you had to pay attention to the whole time. And I think that kind of it suffered because of that. However, if we had introduced her into another project, I think it would have been even better of a show, because I think we would have had a kind of like a preconceived I think we would have had more of an understanding of who the character was and what to expect from that character, and I think the show would have did a lot better. But that's just my opinion on just how Marvel is choosing to tell their stories and things like that. Anyway, I don't necessarily think that we're in a space where the films are going to go back to being bad. And I'm not saying that they were bad in general. I'm just saying they were kind of blah for a while, because like I said, in some of the TV shows and blah, 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 I'm not saying that Marvel is doing bad. The fans definitely are upset at what Marvel is doing, which I definitely understand that. However, I think this will mark the moment where Marvel is going to start feeding more of the fans what they want. For the longest time, I think Marvel took a detour route in order to make projects that didn't necessarily focus on superheroes. And so what I mean by that is that the superhero aspect of the story isn't the main thing. For example, let's talk about She-Hulk again. She-Hulk is a comedy legal TV show. She just so happens to have Hulk powers. Shang-Chi was a Kung Fu movie. He just so happened to have powers. You see what I'm saying here? It's like it felt like they took the route of telling different stories, and the superpowers was a secondary aspect of the story instead of like the main thing, which is what the main fans would want. I felt like they were going that route in order to pull in fans or people who are not fans of Marvel per se, and people who necessarily don't like superhero content. That's what I personally think they were doing as a business model, but I think they're probably going to go the route of focusing more on the comic fans in general and what those fans want to see in the future. But those have been my thoughts on not just Captain America Brave New World, but just Marvel and different Marvel projects as a whole. Overall, I think this movie was very, very, very enjoyable, and I really hope that this is the course we decide to stay when it comes to our Marvel content. Let me know what you guys thought about the film in the comment section down below. This has been Nerd Torch TV, a movie review. I'm your host, Nitro Hotfire, and I hope you guys subscribe. Peace.